Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I'm Andrew Sumner. I'm here with a regular, recurring guest, if you will. The one, the only, Garth Ennis. How are you, mate?
Pretty good, Andrew. How's about you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, brother. I'm good. And we're here to talk about the collected edition of one of your big series from 2021, Marjorie Finnegan, Temporal Criminal.
hmm
So, what can you tell me about the first arc now that you're at the end of it and we're about to see the collected edition?
Well, let's see. The first four issues then introduces Marjorie as a temporal criminal, and her very bad-tempered sister Harriet, who's a temporal cop. And Harriet has come after Marj at just the wrong time because Marj has uncovered a conspiracy to really reorder the temporal makeup of life, the universe, and everything at the really an evil plan brought together by the Lord of Evil, who's so evil that he's the Lord of it. And Marjorie is trying to get Harriet to listen to her about what she's discovered, but Harriet, having had a lifetime of misery at Marge's hands, going right back to when she lost an eye as a little girl, is in no mood to listen. She's got the red mist, and Marj ends up in temporal prison, where she has to rely on her only ally, Dina, who's an intelligent, genetically altered velociraptor, and who's also locked up along with her, and who runs a good part of the prison. And hopefully Dina can help Marj get out so that she can get on the trail of the Lord of Evil while avoiding Harry and Harry's ongoing vengeful tendencies to get her own back on Marj for all her childhood misery. So it's lots of action, lots of laughs, pretty fast-paced stuff. That's where the first book ends. In the second book, the issues of which are running now, you'll see how Marge's quest to put things right goes. Let's just say she has limited success, partial success.
I got the sense when I was reading the month by month issues of the first arc that this was you are continuing to have a tremendous amount of fun with this character and with this book.
Absolutely, yeah, very much so. It was something that I felt in the mood for, something very lighthearted, something I wouldn't have to take too seriously. It fell together quite quickly. Goran Sudzuka came on board to draw it quite early on, and he's perfect for that kind of thing. He's one of those Steve Dillon type artists where whatever you throw at him will be rendered in absolute clarity. And so little visual gags and so on will be brought off with just the same degree of success as massive epic plot twists and so on. There's nothing he can't handle in that regard. He really is a consummate storyteller. So yes, it was time to have some fun, and it worked out great.
Yeah, I think something he shares with Steve, while he's a very different artist on certain levels, is that he has that brilliant characterization, so that when you look at his characters, you really get a sense of who they are facially. Yeah, and you actually see them emote, which not everybody can do. And actually, when I think about it, it's amazing how few people can actually do, even though they might be great artists. But that was something he's got and something Steve always had.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. A lot of artists, and I do tend to avoid this particular kind of artist, but a lot of them go in for more the texture of a page, the mood of a page, and that's nice. But if I can't tell what the character's thinking, if I can't tell simply what expression is on their face, that's no use to me. I do an awful lot of storytelling with people's faces. I require the right expressions on their faces. And if I get something where you can't tell if the guy's smiling or furious or weeping or just indifferent, or maybe just a silhouette, that's no good to me. And that's why I'll always tend towards artists like Goran, like Jason Burrows, like Goran Parlov, like PJ Holden, the people who can show you what the character's thinking when you require them to. That's very important to me.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I think it works wonderfully well with this book and these characters. Um, Now that you're kind of writing a story within the kind of the temporal adventure world, I'm guessing that you're not much of, say, a Doctor Who fan, right?
Not really. I watched it when I was a kid, but that's all it really means to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah, I completely get that, and that's essentially my relationship with that show. But I was thinking, what are the TV or film time series or movies that you've actually enjoyed and are meaningful to you?
Um, Gosh, it's hard to think of ones that are really focused on time travel. I mean, you could argue that Terminator is one.
Yeah,
That's a movie I love, but the time travel aspect of it, I think, is really secondary to the characters and the resolution of the plot. The time travel aspect gets people where the story wants them to be. Uh, and it's part of the resolution, I suppose, of the story long term. But that's it. Most of in the first Terminator, most of the action is fought out in the present,
yeah,
and that's why we like it. So it's hard for me to say. Of course, the other thing is that as soon as you ask me a question like that, my mind empties of time travel
of
stories.
course, yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, I suppose it's not a genre I'm naturally drawn to because of other stories I've enjoyed. It might be, in this instance anyway, it was just a case of the opportunities I could enjoy. I could put Marj in a series of ridiculous situations. Here she is at the Battle of Hastings. Here she is running away from a T-Rex. Um, there was also the question of what it's like to be in what we'll call the time stream, in a place of raw temporal energy, which is where Marj lives effectively, where she hides out. And there was also the chance to answer the old question of what happens if you're responsible for some sort of anomaly where you kill someone or something that's going to be very important somewhere else down the evolutionary line. And that's why I created those realigner things, or
yeah,
unfuckers,
yeah.
Marj refers to them. They take whatever it is you've done and immediately slot something new into reality to fill the gap, which I assume you could do on a limited basis. I mean, I say I assume you could do it. I'm making this up, so
Yeah.
so yes,
Well,
you can.
I think that's exactly it. That was what I was going to ask you. That playing around with time, it seems to me, gives you a lot of elasticity as a storyteller, because
Yeah,
the rules there aren't any hard and fast rules. Every piece of like time temporal adventure type entertainment you'll ever watch sets up a different set. You can do whatever the hell you like, right? So
right.
therefore, the possibilities are endless. You can just
That's
indulge
right.
yourself and enjoy yourself.
That's right. I mean, you do at the same time. You don't want the character to have limitless power, because then you just end up with that question. Well, why doesn't she just blah blah blah? And so you explain that away by saying that the temporal cops never stop watching, and that they have alarms and beacons set up so that when a temporal criminal goes to work, they know they can only do so much. They know they can only go so far before the cops are on their tail. And that's where Harriet comes into it. But doing that means that life won't always be easy for Marge, that she can have fun, but she has to get in and out of places fast. She's just always one step ahead of the time law.
Yeah, right on. How long do you think you're going to be able to? How long do you want to continue with the series?
Well, the second book is 4 issues like the first one. So eventually we'll have a collection of 8 issues, and that'll be the first book. And beyond that, we will have to wait and see. I know the publisher wants more. Goran's keen to do more. I have half an idea. There is a degree of interest in Hollywood, as there always is.
Yeah,
So were that to go anywhere interesting, perhaps it might spark another series. Marge is a great character to write anyway, just because of her total refusal to take anything seriously. But I like the rest of the cast too. I like Harriet. I like Tim the Head. I like Dina, obviously. So it would be fun to go back and revisit those. The first book ends with an interesting sort of inversion of the relationship between Harriet and Marjorie. So it would be interesting to start with that and take them off on another adventure.
Yeah, that would be good. And you've touched upon something that I wanted to close out with, which is given you've had, Preacher was a very solid series and The Boys has been a massive success. Has that dialed up the heat on people hitting you up for adaptations of your work and taking a look at every new thing that you got coming out?
Yeah, I think it's moved things up a notch. More people will tend to take a longer look at more of my stuff. But I think that's true of a lot of people anyway. I mean, Hollywood is always on the lookout for new ideas. And once Hollywood producers and so on who look at comics hear names like mine, like Mark Miller's and so on, although Mark, is basically, I think he's set in stone from here on in.
Well, he's like an IP machine these days, isn't he? He's just
right. I mean, whatever he does, people are all Hollywood is going to immediately start looking at. But it does help. It does move things up a little bit, up a gear, and so you do find that little bit more interest.
Yeah, right on, mate. Well, thanks for that. I mean, I think it's a tremendously enjoyable series, and anybody listening to this conversation, if you've not picked the book up already, you can pick up individual issues from the links attached here, and you can pre-order the collected edition, which we've been discussing, right from the links attached to this conversation. Mate, that was brilliant. I'll see you soon.
All right. Cheers, Andrew.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.